For every movie, we did also this specific map. This is the one for A New Hope, in which you can see like all the routes people take and how they match up. One thing that's interesting is these all the movie maps wind up looking kind of like this. Like in Lucas's stories, tend to revolve around going back and forth between a couple of locales, except things are different each time things happen there. So that was kind of interesting. I never really thought about it until I could see it visually. It was like, oh, well, I'm going to go back and forth. And then getting to the art, this is Chris Trevis, this kind of amazing shot of Princess Leia, which is one of my favorite pieces of art in the book. Or if you know the expanded universe, this is Mara Jade, who eventually marries Luke Skywalker and then gets killed. It's very complicated. And one of the pleasures about getting to write a Star Wars book is you might actually get to be in it. That's actually me as a hyperspace god, and that's Dan Wallace. And I was extremely, I said to Chris Travis when I finally saw this, I said, I really want to thank you for the space goggles that covered up the fact that I have no hair. So
you got the prop department make those goggles.
Yeah, exactly. But this unfortunately has led to a new ambition of mine, which may never be fulfilled, which is now I want to be an action figure, since we actually exist in the Lucas archives.
Talk to Chris Wright.
So the last thing we had to do, we had, Dan and I had always had the same dream. We wanted to have an appendix, like you see in the back of an atlas, where you can look up any town in any state and it'll give you its coordinates. We were like, well, we want to do that for the Star Wars worlds that aren't going to get on a map. And there were a lot of them, and we were running out of pages, and we were kind of nervous about how to do this. And we talked to our eventually we talked to Erish, our editor, and said, yeah, we want to do this. And Erish was like, okay, well, how many are there? And I was like, there's 4,387. And he said, well, how many do you want to include? And I said, all of them? That was I think a somewhat bad moment for Erish, but through some design ingenuity, we got all of them in there, which was terrific to see. And finally, at the end, what you get is, there it is. There's the thing I wanted when I was 8 years old, and the only thing I didn't know was that I would have to play such a large role in getting it to happen. But there it is. It's a map of the Star Wars galaxy. An interesting thing about that, though, is, Star Wars keeps going with new novels and video games and the Clone Wars series, which, if you haven't seen it, it is really a lot of fun. I have a 7-year-old kid, and for him, it's kind of his Star Wars. Like, he loves being on equal footing because it's not something that everybody has seen, or he's late to this kind of 30-year-old party. And he loves the fact that he can tune in on Friday night and see something at the same time everyone else can. But all this stuff keeps happening, and my background is primarily as a web guy, and so I kind of subconsciously at first was looking for ways to kind of webify our book. I mean, books are gorgeous things, and I've got far too many of them on my shelves, and I love them. But it's kind of frustrating that they get fixed, and then you can't change anything about them. So between these two things, Dan and I really wanted to make sure that the atlas was somehow a living document. So what we've done with the help of Del Rey and Lucasfilm is there's an online version of the appendix at starwars.com, which we update periodically with new planets, new information. We've done a couple of new articles that have brought new maps, and we put an email address in the book asking people to say, hey, if you have questions or blame or praise or whatever it is, or you think we made a mistake somewhere in those 4,400 planets, write to us. And people that have written to us, and we've answered every email, and it's been a lot of fun doing that. And so our promise to fans like us who always wanted this was that that we will keep going. And it's as a longtime Star Wars fan, it was a dream come true to get to play a bit in George Lucas's galaxy and make a book, and then from there make that book a living thing going forward. So thank you. Any questions? questions from within reason, where is Planet X, to, what on earth inspires you to do such a crazy thing, let fly.
Jason, what's the appendix up to now?
I think there have been like 200 more worlds since we came out late last summer. And there are more and more every day. Every new source I get, I sort of flip through avidly thinking, where's that go? Or, does this make sense? Or some occasionally, oh God, that's not right. And but we work with Lucasfilm to get placements on all of those.
We talked about this a little bit in the interview, but can you talk a little bit more about your relationship with Del Rey and Lucasfilm and how it works, when you become like part of the canon and when you're just sort of out there?
Sure. All the Star Wars books, video games, whatever you have, are all licensed through Lucasfilm. Del Rey is one of the major licensees, both for adult fiction and also for nonfiction, nonfiction about a fictional galaxy. And so, Ascendant and Eric will jump in and correct me if I get any of this wrong, but it's what books are going to come out and who winds up writing is very much a collaborative process between Lucasfilm and Del Rey and the other licensees. But yeah, the Atlas is completely canon. So if George himself has other ideas, of course, he has the whip hand, as he should. But beyond that, one thing we've been very happy about is that some of the authors have come to me and Dan for help placing stuff, or come to us and said, thanks. It was really hard. Now I kind of put stuff together, and this book is really invaluable. So yeah, that's basically how the process works.
An example of how it's canon is Jason showed you the image of himself and Dan as the hyperspace scouts. Well, they are now officially hyperspace scouts in the Star Wars universe. So if another author wanted to write a character who was a hyperspace scout, they could use either Jason or Dan in one of their books. That's simply because they were in that one image.
There's an online Star Wars encyclopedia called Wikipedia, which is really an ingenious name. Some of the Wikipedia guys were actually really kind of annoyed with me and Dan, because they were like, what's the name of these two hyperspace scouts? And we said, we don't know, we didn't make that up. With the subtext being like, are you kidding? I mean, it was so cool we had a picture. We weren't going to then go name ourselves like a self-referential atom or something. But they were like, how can you have a picture of yourselves and not have a name? And I was like, that's a good question. It never occurred to me. So maybe in some future work.